city or a town, a frown. The business of a crown, of the living that abounds, of the church and the announcements. It's doing what counts, the underground sound in a city or a town, a frown. The business of a crown, of the living that abounds, of the church and the announcements. It's doing what counts. The underground sound is the voice within, to give ear to the spirit and to flee from sin, to live for Jesus and the praise of Him, by not selling out for the praise of men, to do whatever it takes, no matter what the cost, to keep pushing up the weight, carrying the cross, straight bench pressing sin, defend the word that lacks, and your best mention Him, or then you gon' die. Cause the underground sound in a city or a town, the business of a crown, of the living that abounds, of the church and the announcements. It's doing what counts, the underground sound in a city or a town, the frown.
Oh, hey, Dan Bell here. As many of you guys know, I'm a world's strongest powerlifter. I actually just finished up reading this book from Scott Davenport, Mixed Martial Arts. I love how he gets in the mindset grit required to become successful. Scott tells a story of how it was installed in him in his early years. He then takes you through his rise through fighting, the camps, the coaches, his influences, and his opponents. He also dives into the hardships, the challenges, and injuries, everything that he needed to overcome. Scott's virtues and faith carried him through these hardships and challenges to find your own. That mindset and that lessons that Scott learned and expressed in this book can be transferred to almost any endeavor. If you're interested in this story and how hard work, perseverance, faith can carry a person to their goals, this book is definitely for you.
Whatever you believe you can achieve, if you believe, honestly, 100% that you can achieve this shit, you will. Your mind is more powerful than any fucking drug out there, and that's the truth. So, it's having that constant positive fucking mentality and, positive about everything. Every fucking thing you're doing is the best you could be fucking doing, and, you're doing everything possible, and there's no negative shit even pops in your fucking head.
Come on! Dominate, baby, come on! Let's go, let's go, let's go! Oh, shit. Go down, Gummer! You're gonna lose it! We're live and alive on the Underground Sound with Big J, best friend and training partner to the greatest bodybuilder in the history of mankind, Ronnie Coleman. How you doing, bro?
Good, my friend. How are you? Am I on? Can you see me and can you hear me?
I can see you perfect, hear you clear, and I know we have a lot of stuff. I got a lot of questions for you, so it's gonna be a easy podcast, but I wanted to make sure to ask you this, so I'm going to ask you right up front.
Okay. First off, honored to be here. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you, man. Thank you for doing this. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Excited about this. How frequently did Ronnie Coleman deadlift?
Oh man, we deadlift every week.
Every week.
Yeah, I mean, not now, of course, but while training all the way up until probably 7 or 8 years ago, every week, just like a powerlifter would. Our programs were based on, powerlifting and bodybuilding. There's a lot of people that claim that they created the power and the bodybuilding and whatnot, but I mean, it's been something that a lot of people started back. Even in the 70s, you'd see Arnold training like a powerlifter and Franco, because frankly, they were powerlifters and they would carry on into their bodybuilding programs some of the powerlifting exercises and programs, and it would help them maintain their strength and their size, which is obviously very important as a bodybuilder. You don't want to lose size when you start dieting and getting into a deficit. So yeah. Ronnie powerlifted before and as well as deadlifted every week while he was training. We all did.
How long have you been training for, Big J?
Oh, well, 1981 was kind of when I first started training. So this is 2021. So right at 40 years now.
And did you always train so hard? Cause you do really hard exercises and go, squatting 500 pounds for 10 reps is pretty rough stuff, and for you to be doing it since that long ago, that's crazy.
Well, thank you so much. I'm just actually thankful. It's a blessing to be able to continue to train of this stature because of, so many people that do not get to physically. Mentally, it's helped me a lot. But I want to say, because I actually kind of rehearsed this on the way home when we had talked before about how I would answer this. And I would have to say that, not 100% every workout. I didn't kill it or crush it or be better or stronger every single workout. If that was possible, I'd be squatting 3,000 pounds and benching 1,000,000 pounds,
Yeah.
So it's impossible to do better every workout or get stronger. So with that being said, I don't really think until I met Branch Warren and Ronnie Coleman and Jay Cutler and Dorian Yates and all the other amazing monsters that I've trained with in the past, that I really knew what intense training was. And that was the first 10 years that I was working out. I did train with Vince Taylor and Vince Taylor was Masters Olympia champion for years, an amazing friend. We were in Germany together. And I could just name drop on and on about some of the people that probably most of your followers have never heard of, but training with those guys, the different types of intensity that they utilized and the physiques that they mastered and put on stage, I don't want to say it's nothing compared to what the 90s monsters brought with the intensity and the training, like Dorian and Ronnie and Kevin Levrone and all the other, Chris Cormier, all the people that I trained with in the past. So in answer to your question, first 10 years, I really didn't train as hard as I have the last 20 years. And I say that, I don't know, with the most humble response, because there are, again, today I had a crappy workout. It wasn't crappy. It was just go through the motions because I have so much going on, but I didn't try to kill myself on the shoulder press. I was doing shoulder press, and a lot of times I'll put all the weight on there and do as many as I can. You can't do that all the time. You're not supposed to. And it's not that I'm programming a deload week or a light day. It's just, I went by the feel. I'm not getting ready for a powerlifting meet. I'm not getting on stage anytime soon. And I'm just, again, happy and blessed to be alive and to be able to do these things. So when I have the gumption, which is 90% of the time to train with intensity, I will. And I love it. There's a lot of people that will continue to tell me, hey, Jay, you need to calm down. You're way too big. You're way too fat. You shouldn't have to train like that. You're done. You're over. You're washed up. And that's exactly the opposite. I'm nowhere near done. I'll be done when I stop breathing. I love this stuff.
Yeah, I was listening to your podcast actually with Mark Bell, where you were talking about when you train with Brian Dobson, that you guys do instinctive training because I guess he has so many injuries that you always have to navigate the waters and make adjustments.
Right.
That was really intriguing to me. When I heard that, I was like, man, that's really valuable information because someone with so much experience, for me, I've been training since I started lifting weights when I was 11 and I'm 37 now.
Oh, wow. That's a lot of years.
That's probably been the biggest thing for me, has been learning how to auto-regulate my workouts in terms of going, you know what, I'm not going to go hard today, or, whereas when I was younger, I would just do what I was planning on doing no matter what, and I might get hurt or something. But now it's I know, okay, my back kind of feels I might slip a disc or something if I do this.
Sure. Well, what people don't realize is that working out is, number one, a blessing. I mean, it's something that we should all be thankful for. Number two, we tend to start listening and watching and emulating and wanting to be like some of the influencers per se, or the people that show you 1 second of their 24 hours of the day that they really killed one exercise. And then, you know, they get up from their desk from their 9 to 5 and they don't work out very hard and they want to go try that. People really need to focus on functionality of their lifestyles. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you're a tennis player, a basketball player, if you don't play any sports at all, if you're a mom, dad, or, you know, CrossFit athlete or a bike rider or whatever, you need to train for your type of functionality and fitness, because fitness is involved in every single thing we do. Breathing is fitness, you know, thinking is fitness. You operate the central nervous system and the, you know, the oxygen and the heart and the blood and the muscles and the tendons when you walk, you know, to bed every day. So living is fitness, but taking it so seriously and injuring yourself or trying to do what, you know, Ronnie Coleman did when he was getting ready for the Olympia, or try to do what Branch Warren did when he was getting ready for the Arnold, or what I'm doing when I'm getting ready to just get out of bed. There's so many different types of exercises that will hurt you. You got to be careful. So functional training goes a long way along with the instinct training as well. You've got to know, okay, I'm just the person that wants to play with my kids. You know, I get out and I swing some golf clubs every now and then. There's actual specificity training for those types of things as well. You don't need to get out there and try to deadlift 800 pounds or squat 750 pounds or bench press 500 pounds if you're a golfer or a dad that goes to soccer games.
Yeah, no, that, I mean, it's funny to hear you say that, because it's so good. Like, because the magazines, they never said anything like that. They would just say, train like this. And there was no consideration to, like, maybe you have a hard physical labor job that you have to do and you got to make huge adjustments, you know, or you're just going to bury yourself, or maybe you don't. This is a good question. Did Ronnie Coleman have like a supernatural recovery ability compared to other people?
I just want to go on record to say Ronnie Coleman is an alien. I don't think he's human at all. and if he was sitting right here beside me, I would still tell you the same thing. The dude had phenomenal strength, phenomenal recovery periods, phenomenal muscle bellies, incredible joints and tendon strength. You know, the way that he would mentally approach workouts and still be so humble and intense, and just he's again the greatest bodybuilder of all time for a reason, and all of those wrapped up into a million other things and reasons and variables will give you that answer. He's not human. He's not. I've trained with him for years, and I just when I would be dying, he would still look like he was just getting started.
Yeah, no, I mean, I just watched, like, you know, randomly, I just was like, you know, I'm going to go watch Ronnie Coleman's 1998 Mr. Olympia, you know, just to do it. And it's like, when you watch that, you're like, oh my God, man, like this guy, he looked unbelievable. I mean, you know, I mean,
completely different package from 97 to 98 as well. He's made a lot of adjustments.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of funny to hear. I've heard Flex Wheeler say quite a few times that he felt like he beat him in 99. And I'm like, how do you think you beat him, bro? Like, you don't even look anywhere near Ronnie Coleman. Like, Ronnie was way bigger and way harder. Extremely bigger and harder.
And they are best friends. And I have a lot of respect for Flex, you know, of course, as well as Ronnie. It's subjective, you know what I mean? And it's relative to figure out, okay, Flex was definitely a symmetrical god, in my opinion. He really had one of the greatest flowing physiques known to man to this day. However, his hardness was not paralleled to what Ronnie would bring to the stage. I mean, Ronnie, again, alien. He brought the weirdest, freakiest size, symmetry, and hardness that anybody had ever seen for years.
Yeah.
I mean, Dorian kind of made that something that people would have to chase after, because he was the first really hardest, grainiest bodybuilder and biggest ever. I mean, Lou Ferrigno, when people say that Ronnie or Dorian and Ronnie were the original Mass Monsters, Lou Ferrigno was 270 something on stage. You know what I mean? But the conditioning back then versus the conditioning now, Dorian literally was the first man over 240, 250. I mean, I think Lee Haney was like 238, 250-ish at the most. But Dorian brought 260, 265, 270, 272, and the freakiest granite hardness that you could ever imagine. And Ronnie brought that at a bigger package.
Yeah, like analyzing Ronnie's training, like his videos, I've watched all his videos like a million times. I actually, because Ronnie kind of goes by being a high volume guy, but if you analyze him, he did his warm-ups, and then, I mean, he really was the most high-intensity training dude of all time, like, because his top sets were, like, crazier. His top sets are the best top sets of anybody you'll ever see, I mean, by far.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of people that are at his strength, that are a little smaller or maybe the same weight but a different body composition, and you'll hear getting on that Ronnie Coleman level. Nobody in the world will ever reach that level. Nobody, because Ronnie was squatting 800 and deadlifting 800 at 3 or 4 or 5% at the most body fat, 3 or 4 or 5 weeks out from the Olympia, and has 8 Olympia titles underneath his belt. The people that talk about getting on Ronnie's level has either never competed in bodybuilding, or have and quit, or never reached that level of professionalism at the Olympia level. So the difference of the levels are, galaxies apart.
Yeah, I mean, people might be able to match his like squat or deadlift maybe, but I don't think I've ever seen anybody do that 315 for 12 military press or the T-bar rows. I mean, because he did these other movements. I mean, I don't see those videos. It's like I've never seen anybody match that. His workouts.
I know when I first met Ronnie, this is a good story. I was home on leave. Actually, it was 92. I was working out with Branch, and Branch had actually just beat Jay Cutler at the Nationals. Okay, this is this far back. And we were squatting, and I think we had 585. I know it was 6 wheels, so 585. And, I was still in the military, so I barely weighed 215, 220 pounds. We were running every day and whatnot. And I was relatively strong. I actually broke some Army records when I was powerlifting in the military. Well, we were squatting, and he kept looking over, and he had this, I smell shit face is what I call it, and just looking over. And I finally looked at him. I said, what's this guy looking at? I didn't know who he was. And Branch was like, oh, dude, that's Ronnie Coleman. I said, okay, Ronnie who? And he came over and he goes, hey, man, how come you squat so much weight and got little bitty ass legs? We both started laughing, and I laughed because it was true. I had tiny legs at the time. And I said, man, I don't know why. And he said, you need to train up right now. Take all that weight off and do 20 reps. I had never done 20 of anything in my entire life except for push-ups. And we dropped down to 315, and my legs went from 26 or 27 inches to 30 in about a year.
Really?
Because of the high volume, heavy weight. 315 is not heavy by any means, but try it for 20 reps. And then we eventually got up to like 400, 455, 500 for 20 reps. And that's the kind of training we did.
Wow.
Yes,
that's
sir.
Crazy. So when you talk about volume, are you talking more about reps than sets?
Oh, no, both.
Both.
Yeah. For chest, there's literally 6, 7, 8 exercises, 4, 5, 6 sets of 20 repetitions. Back, same thing, 6, 7, 8 exercises. Legs, at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 exercises for 4 sets of 20. I mean, that's just how we did it. And that's
how many of those sets were to failure?
Honestly, failure, it just depends on where you're at with your contest prep. So, you don't really want to hurt yourself 4, 5, 6 weeks out from a show. So you don't necessarily, and I didn't, some people would say differently, but I would never actually put the weight on that it would pull me down less than 20 reps. I mean, squatting 400 for 20 reps is a lot for anybody.
Yeah.
But I could do that. But if I would jump up to like 455 or 500 and try to get 20 being the magic number, then I would probably fail, especially dieted down. So failure was more of an off season, getting that 4th or 5th set of trying to get to 15, 20 reps. And sometimes we would drop the reps to 10 to 12 just to get heavier weight. But probably every workout in the off season, one set, most of the compound multi-joint and the heavy duty exercises were to failure. You know, you do your warm-ups and then you just go all out.
Now, when Ronnie had his videos, it seemed to me like he always had 4 workouts in his videos. He'd have like a shoulder day, he'd have back and bicep, chest and triceps and legs. But then he said that he trained everything twice a week. So like,
We'd start all over. So on day 5, we'd start with chest again, or whatever body part that we started. So let's just say, and I answer this question all the time, and I hope people listening are paying attention. So let's just say Monday is chest, which International Chest Day. So we train chest and triceps, and then Tuesday we train shoulders. Wednesday we train legs, and then Thursday we train back and biceps. Well, then Thursday we'd be back to Monday. So we do chest on Thursday, and then Friday we do, you know, the next exercise and so forth. So there was one exercise that wouldn't get done twice a week, but eventually they would all get done twice a week.
Oh, so you guys, so just one of them wouldn't get done twice. So there was 4 workouts, and you'd circuit. So would you always train 6 days a week though?
Yeah. And I always trained 7 for a long time because my legs were
7?
always trying to catch up to my upper body. So I would throw, and I still do this to this very day. I'm squatting tomorrow. I would always have a separate squat day on Sunday. And if you look at my Instagram, for I don't know how many years I've been on Instagram, every single Sunday I'm squatting. And then I have an accessory leg day on Tuesday.
So you train 7 days a week?
Sometimes I would take a day off, but I mean, that's just going to work, man.
You don't get run down? Because I actually heard Branch say that he had to train like 4 or 5 days a week though, because he couldn't handle the 6.
Well, if you look at how Branch trained, you'd know why he needed a day off.
Oh,
this guy was a wrecking ball in the gym, and still is to this day. He's lost some size and some weight, but still conditioned as he was at the Arnold when he won, and when he took second at the Olympia those years. I mean, he looks amazing, and he still trains with wrecking ball, Tasmanian devil intensity. That's where I learned a lot of my intensity from.
From Branch?
Yeah. So long story short, how I got into Metroflex Gym, because I know you asked this earlier when we were talking. Let's talk about this.
Yeah.
Being in the military, going back to high school, trained a little bit in college, joined the military, met a lot of interesting bodybuilders. John Baker, Mr. Arizona. What was his name? You probably won't know any of these people. There was a couple of bodybuilders in Colorado. Bob Reese, he was Mr. Colorado. I'm drawing a blank now. I should pull out my yearbook of military people, but there were so many people that were big, and I was always a big, strong farm boy. You know, I grew up in the mountains and, you know, did a lot of farm work, hauled hay and split wood, but I never had that, you know, the round shoulders on the big biceps and the smaller waist. I was always the one first to the table and last to leave. You know, I ate everything. So you could call me anything but late for dinner. Seeing those bodybuilders, I thought, you know, I need to kind of work out with these guys and see what it's all about, because that's what I want to do. Nobody knew anything about dieting. Heck, I competed without dieting when I was in Germany. Wow. And when they'd stand you in the hallway and go, okay, number 7, 3, 15, 12, and 9, bye. Have a nice day. Man, I didn't even get to go outside. You get to go home, though. So That's how they did prejudging back then. We didn't tan. We didn't oil. We just put our posing trunks on and shaved, laid out by the pool, kind of like the Arnold days. You know, that was back in the early 80s. And then I kind of got tired of it, did some deployments, got back to the States, run into some more amazing bodybuilders and thought, I'm going to take it seriously now. And so I did. And I really started training as hard as I could. This is about 8 or 9 years into my first few workouts. Well, then when I got out, when I came home on leave, that's when I ran into Mark Hanlon, which is a story that you and I talked about earlier. Yeah. A monster. You probably have to be around Metroflex for, I don't know, he passed away in 2007. You'd have to have been there for at least 10 or 15 years to know who he was. But I met him at a ZZ Top concert. I'm going to tell you everything verbatim. This is what happened. I was wearing and I got a few muscles now. Okay. I was starting to kind of lean out and show some round shoulders. I was like 180 pounds soaking wet. 292 now, by the way. So 100 pounds lighter than I am now, and I still feel small. It was an NPC USA shirt. It had plaid one side and blue jean the other side. Remember those shirts, cut off sleeve with the little frills? I was standing in the bathroom at a ZZ Top concert in Dallas. And I heard, hey, I should kick your ass for wearing that shirt. And, I was the only one in the bathroom. And I'm thinking, surely he's not talking to me. I turned and I looked at this big monster gorilla, Satan looking dude, just mean and fire in his eyes, ponytail, 22-inch guns, big shoulders. And he was, kind of breathing down my neck. And I said, hey, sir, I will take it off and leave. I'll fuck around, man. That's no problem. You can keep it on. What's your name, dude? You look like you work out. And I told him, and he told me what his name was. He said, why don't you meet me at so-and-so and we'll work out tomorrow? And I said, oh, okay, cool. I've never heard that before, but sure. Metroflex Gym. So we went and worked out a couple of times. We became really good friends, but we became acquaintances. And then I decided, well, I want to compete. So who do you go to learn to compete? Well, Marvelous Marvin, which he passed away as well. Mark passed away April 1st, 2007. Marvin passed away 5 or 6 years ago. Anyway, he was the choreographer that trained Ronnie, Branch, Brian, Ronnie Schweier. I could name 30 other names that have been on the pro stage for the last 30 years.
Wow.
And so I showed up and sitting on the couch, and The Sopranos was on. He was recording it with his VCR tape, and he was making sure that it was going. And then it sounded like somebody had a battering ram hitting the door. And I was like, what the heck is that? He goes, oh, that must be Mr. Hanlon. I said, who? He goes, open the freaking door. He said, that's Mr. Hanlon. So I opened it, and it was him, the guy that threatened to kick my ass at the ZZ Top concert. What the hell are you doing here, punk? I just coming here to pose, bro. And he goes, all right, well, let's go. And after that, we became good friends. We went to IHOP all the time and hung out, worked out. And he actually at that point was working out with Branch and Ronnie. And I met Ronnie shortly after that. And then Branch and I trained together from like 96 to 01. And then Mark and I as well. And then Ronnie and I after that. So long story short, Metroflex Gym is where I figured out what intensity was all about. Because I'm telling you, anybody that comes to the gym from any walks of life that have tried to be hardcore or said they were hardcore, and I don't want to say any names now because there's a lot of recent people that are still competing that have come there and just died. It's a different reality, my friend.
Yeah, man. I mean, I can't even believe just the heat alone. It's like, dude.
If you can survive the heat, then that's the first step. You just got to be able to survive the heat. Then the exercises, and then the brutality of the non-rest. I mean, these guys go on and on and on. And, not like this upper body, lower body, push-pull, whatever it is these kids are doing these days for whatever competitions they're getting ready for. That didn't work for what we were doing. You come in there, you train high volume, you train heavy weight, and you train till you die.
So you're just obliterating yourself every day, basically.
Pretty much. And that's when you got to kind of, sorry, I keep getting these messages. That's when you kind of got to be smarter when you get older and be able to stand up for yourself. Because I never did for about 5 or 6 years with those guys because I saw them killing themselves.
Yeah.
And I thought, that's what they're doing. That's what I should do. Well, finally, when I came into some rank and seniority of being there long enough, I could just say, no, I don't want to do that one. Oh, okay, Jay, well, let's go over here and do this one. So that would give you like a little rest break in between killing yourself.
Did you ever experience any like lagging body parts from training like that? Because like for me, when I was really young, I did like the Arnold Schwarzenegger routine. And
I think we all did.
Yeah. And there were certain body parts that would just lag though for me because I felt like I was maybe just training. Like I would have my first chest and back day and my chest workout was like awesome. And then my back workout was pretty good. And then the next day I'd do shoulders and arms and my shoulder workout would be really great, but my arm workout wasn't that good. And then my leg workout the next day was maybe, you know what I mean? Like for me, it was like a little bit much, I think. And I kind of felt like I got a little better results when I cut back a little bit because then I would rest more and then get good workouts in, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, CT Fletcher and Mike Rashid and all those other guys out there in the West Coast nailed it on the head. There's no such thing as overtraining. It's under resting. So I think what a lot of people do is they read these programs that, the Ironman and Flex magazines used to put out and go, okay, that worked for Flex Lewis. I'm going to do it until I get as big as Flex Lewis. Well, they didn't tell you Flex Lewis is complete rest, supplementation, nutrition, actual pre-workout, post-workout regimen. There's so many other factors that go into a person's physique, and everybody's kind of different too. So your body is genetically disposed to not grow as quickly as the other ones, chest or biceps or calves or quads or hams, or you're just not training it hard enough. And I've got several clients now that I'm training that they're finally, most of them are going, wow, I never, and some of them are in their 50s, my age, and there's a couple of them in the 30s, I never knew that it would take this much effort to, get results. I just thought you just push a couple of pounds and then walked away. A lot of times you'll see these influencers say, okay, all you need to do is 4 sets of 8 at a moderate weight and your body will start to change. Yeah, 30 years from now, if you want results like everybody does, like yesterday, you're going to have to get into a continual progressive overload, hard progressive overload, and don't hurt yourself smartly to get some type of results. And frequency there's not a problem with frequency. You just have to recover properly. You know what I'm saying? And recovery meaning prehab and rehab, warming the body up, getting the dynamic stretches in. There's a lot of people that'll jump underneath 225 and start benching. And I just cringe seeing that. I start out with a bar and it takes me 20 minutes to get to 3 wheels, you know what I mean? Or 15 or whatever. So I think you fell into the rut that all of us did when we first started training of not really knowing what we were doing, going, haphazardly, not doing the pre-stretching and rehab and prehab. And then the biggest factor is you lose your, what is it called? Not mentality. You lose your focus. You lose your, not your drive. It's something that you lose at the end of the day, your gumption, Yeah. So I've always talked about training the worst first. So if you have lagging back muscles, why not start with your back workout when you're so excited to start training on Monday, instead of leaving it till the end of the week and going, I'll hit it harder next week. What if you're kind of breeze through?
What if your lagging body part, and this is me actually, what if it's your arms? Because for me, like I have a great leg workout every time I do legs. Every time I do chest, it's great. Every time I do back, shoulders. But for arms, I just have the hardest time like getting a good, like I never feel that good about it. I'm like,
yeah. Are you ready for your followers to get mad at me?
Yes.
Train them every single day.
Really?
That's what I did when I was in the Army. I had tiny arms. Okay. They were fat and tiny. So when I finally lost all my baby fat, after running for decades a day,
yeah,
my arms, I had a pretty big back because I was slinging hay and, chopping wood. Shoulders were not bad at all, but I never used my arms, and I never really did much bicep curls and tricep push downs. I was working on hot rods. I wasn't trying to get muscles, you know what I mean, when I was a kid. Yeah. So Hillbilly was the guy's name. That was his nickname. I can't remember. David Hill was his name in the Army. He was always training biceps. He had that little Arnold arm crusher go across his chest, and he had like 10s on each side. And he'd do 100 reps every morning when he wake up, 100 reps every night when he go to bed. He did it every single day. After about 3 months, his arm started growing.
Really?
And you think about this. Oh, yeah. Think about it. You have to recover. But think about a soccer player or a cycler's legs or calves. Every single day for hours. That is a continuation of an overload that your mind goes, there's no way we can do this, but you do it. And then your calves get bigger and your quads get bigger and your hands get bigger. Why will it not work in bodybuilding? And there are some specifics that have to be addressed, okay? You can't put a 45 on each side of a curl bar and expect to do that every single day. You're going to tear it down. It'll never rebuild. You have to be smart. I just posted on Instagram my 21-inch gun salute workout, and it was slow and long and hard and medium weight for 10 sets of 10 of the bicep curls and the tricep push downs. And I did that every single day when I was in the Army. Guess what? I went from 16 to 18. My arms are still 21 inches because I do that every now and then. I'm a powerlifter at heart, a bodybuilder on stage, kind of both inside. I hate training arms, but when I feel like I haven't trained them in a couple of weeks, which I will skip them all the time, I'll do that. I'll do the 21 gun salute workout literally for a week straight every single day. And it's not a lot of weight. It's a lot of volume, but it's continuing to overload. And guess what? Those bad boys start growing.
How much did you compete in bodybuilding and powerlifting?
How much?
Yeah, like, did you compete a lot?
So when I was in the Army, I did both. I competed in the All-Army, All-Army Armed Forces Power Event and it was a Fort Campbell, and then it was in Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and then I competed in Germany. I competed in Fort Carson, Colorado. So it was just an all Army Armed Forces powerlifting event. And so I did probably 6 of those. I did a couple of competitions after I got out of the military when I first opened up my gym in '94. And then I kind of slowed down competing in bodybuilding or powerlifting and started picking up the bodybuilding because I bodybuilt in strongman events and martial arts and some boxing in Germany. And this was in 89 and 90-ish. And then, of course, we were deployed for a while in 91, came back in 92, did a couple of bodybuilding and powerlifting events in Colorado, 92, 93, opened up my gym and competed until 02. So,
Wow, so long.
I did a few shows. Yeah. A lot of fun. I was never any good. I just enjoyed it all.
You said something about not losing muscle mass when you diet down. Like, what is the key to that? I actually just did my first bodybuilding competition. I'm 37 and I just did my first competition. But I was shocked because I was powerlifting. I was 276 pounds and I was like, I'm going to be like 225, like shredded, that's what I thought. I was like, for sure. I dieted, man. And I went all the way to 205 and I was like,
oh, wow.
Dude, like, why am I so small? Like, that's 70 pounds.
There's a huge equation to that answer. I mean, sometimes people over diet and they lose a lot of muscle when they're dieting down. Sometimes you just have so much intramuscular fat that you weren't really that muscular to begin with. I have several clients that even when I try not to put them in such a calorie deficit and keep them off of the cardio period, they still just lose a whole lot of mass. So when people try to go into an off season and gain a lot of mass and they jump up, 20, 30, 40 pounds. And then, all right, I got 40 pounds on me. I'll start dieting for my show. The biggest problem is not holding on to that weight for as long as you can to build quality mass with that weight, because most of it's just water and fat. You know what I'm saying? So hyperplasia, mitochondria, the regeneration of muscle tissues, all that goes into a scientific notation, but you're born with the same amount of fat cells as you are muscle cells. When you die, you have the same, you just kind of, they grow bigger. You know what I mean? So regeneration of muscle tissue, there's a lot of science, like I said, it goes behind that, but you have to continue to force and stretch those muscles for a long period of time for that to take hold. You know what I mean? You can't just put a shot of nitrous on your car and expect that motor to be a 500 horsepower motor. It's really only a 185 horsepower motor. Let's do the pistons and the rods and the crank and the cam and the intake and the head work. And then we might have closer to a 500 horsepower motor. Take the shot of nitrous away. You've got a true 500 horsepower motor. So when you do, and I know I hate comparing to cars because a lot of people don't understand it, but when you do a 3-month bulk, that's a waste of time. People say clean bulk, dirty bulk, whatever. Just pile the shit of calories into your body, get a few hundred calories in an overload while you're bulking. That way it's not crappy weight and you can continue to try to gain quality muscle maturity while you're getting bigger. And hopefully after 6 months, 9 months, even a year, if you can hold off that long, you'll be that much more bigger. Because here's a story. When I first started training with Mark and Branch, I was 190 pounds, maybe still in the military. When I got out, I bumped up to like 200, 205. And I was like, I've got to compete. And they said, well, you're going to be kind of tiny, but we'll put you on stage. And so I did, 181 pounds. I was like, oh my gosh, man, I am a wuss. And there's nothing wrong with being 181, but I thought I was going to be like 200 and something pounds. Get bigger. Yeah. I got smaller. And so that's when I met Ronnie and Mark, and those guys were telling me, hey, let's put you on a high calorie diet. Let's train your ass off for a good 6 months to a year and see what happens. I got up to 300 pounds in a year.
Wow.
I was overeating. I was way too high in body fat, but all of a sudden I kind of started growing into that body. Well, guess what? My next show was 220, not 190. You know what I mean? And obviously there were steroids, everything.
30 pounds of muscle.
Get there. Yeah, 30 pounds of muscle. And I was leaner and harder and more, defined. The symmetry was there. I was training, with intensity to add that muscle. That was kind of newbie gains.
How much strength do you expect to lose when you cut from 300 pounds to 220? Like, or what would you say? Like, if you're
I would
cutting,
never get down to 220 again.
well,
I could be
okay,
at 250.
like, so let's just say if you got to 250 and you were going to compete in bodybuilding again, how much strength would you expect to lose? Like, you're squatting 500 for 10 right now. What would you be squatting when you were at 250? Like, stage ready?
I'd be real careful with that. But I could probably do the same weight for about 60% of those reps.
Really?
My last 3 or 4 years, I was dialed into what I wanted to be size wise. I was guest posing at 265, getting on stage at 245, 248, 250, staying pretty strong, benching 315 for 20 reps, squatting 400 for 20 reps. Always high, not really in the powerlifting rep range of 3 to 5 because you really tax those tendons and joints, and tie-ins that will rip quicker than a muscle. When people say, oh, I tore my pec, you didn't tear your pec, you tore the tie-ins. And some people do tear the pec right down the middle. But when you tear muscles, you tear from the insertion. So those start drying out when you get into a deficit. You start dehydrating yourself, start taking all these extra drugs that dry out your joints and tendons. And so you just got to be really careful. But I don't lose a lot of strength. I've always been a big old fat strong dude.
Well, when you're talking about drugs, like, so you switch over to stuff, obviously, then, right, that dries you out when you're cutting. Like,
Sorry,
would
say it
you
again?
like with like steroids and stuff? Like, so I was listening to Robbie Robinson, and he said he only did DECA his whole life. That's it. And so, could you use DECA for a pre-contest, like going into a contest? Would you do that?
I mean, I'm sure if that was all that you had access to, or that's what your body reacted to, or that's what your trainer told you to do, or that's what you liked, sure. But, you got to get off of it in the last couple of weeks as well. Back when I first started competing, I was taking everything, every pill, every shot, every injection, everything I can get my hands on. But that led me to the same results as where I'm at now. I take 1 SIA test and 1 SIA DECA. I'm sorry, I take 3/4 of SIA test, 3/4 SIA DECA a week, and then the next week I'll take a SIA Sustanon. And then the next week, same thing, DECA and test. Next week, Sustanon. And I'm still stronger than kids half my age.
Yeah. So you don't need all that.
Don't need it. It's up here. Literally, the drugs are to help you recover. Seriously. Yeah, you're going to get stronger because if you have not taken it before, it's going to help you recover quicker, and you're going to get a lot of water, in your muscle tissue and your joints and tendons, and that helps it to not hurt as bad. You know what I'm saying? When you start taking the calories away and you're still putting that in your body, your joints are going to say, you know what? We don't know what to do with this, whatever it is you're putting in your body, but we're dry and we're going to start ripping if you don't be careful.
Is test and DECA your favorite?
I would have to say my favorite for what? Let me ask you that again.
I don't know. Because it seems to me like you just love training, like, more than anything. Like, that's the kind of perception I have of you. Like, you love to train. Like, you're always training hella hard and freaking love the lifestyle. So just for good training, I guess, good workouts, being your best,
You know what I used to love? Anadrol.
Oh, really?
I haven't taken one of those in years just because of the toxicity it does put your body through. There's a lot of stuff that happens inside that kids don't realize. And they had this, whatever it takes attitude. And rest in peace, my brother, Rich Piana. He had that phenomenal attitude of doing whatever it takes to have a great day, a good business, a good workout, or whatever. But there's a lot of kids that take that to the next level that have 9-to-5 jobs and families and kids that need to look at more of a future aspect of, okay, I need to do whatever it takes to pay the bills, to provide for my family, to provide a retirement plan, to buy my next house or whatever. And sometimes they're very blinded, like I said earlier, about what the influencers are doing for the 30 seconds that they get to see. And they don't see that Rich Piana was a real estate mongrel. They don't see all the work that he put into a supplement line. They don't see how much he loved his family. It's, more of it in social media. Really, I wish we could go backwards and get rid of it. But I'm kind of married to it now because it works for business wise for me. But I wish we could have more of the wake up and smell the roses and understand your life is not based on the very next rep or the very next, PR. Your base is life on your family. the ones that love you and the ones that you should be loving. This workout stuff is just fun, extra, it's a blessing. Back to my favorite drug. Anadrol was my very favorite go-to for heavy days because I feel like I was stronger immediately. And some people get affected differently from it. But like I said, I hadn't taken any in years. I would say my next favorite will be like a Sustanon because that was a mixture of different testosterones. Deca always bloats me, the face and the ankles. And I never really took a whole lot of it, but it helped, it kind of helped in the joint the water retention in the joints. From what I was told and what I heard, there's a lot of people that will argue that fact or that statement. But, a clean test is always good too, instead of taking all three of them or the enanthate or the cypionate or the propionate, get on one of them. Don't jump around like you're jumping from taxi to taxi. Make sure it works for your body and go for it. And I never took anything else. There's people that take Tren and Mastron and Equipoise. There's like 3,000 drugs out there that I've never even experimented with.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I said I took everything under the sun. I took a lot, but there was so much that A, I couldn't afford, and B, that I was like, this works. Why do I need to take anything else? Mm-hmm. And you kids are taking more than, the biggest, strongest, baddest bodybuilder in the world is taking. What's wrong with you? And it shows. Look at your body.
Yeah, because the most important thing probably has to be genetics, right? Like, I mean, the only way to be like Ronnie Coleman is to have the genetics and the workout.
Yes and no. You'll hear Dorian argue about poor genetics and hard work. So I would think that I fell in between because I had genetically a larger back only because I progressively overloaded it with hard work when I was a kid. So I don't know if that was genetics or if that was what I was forced into doing and growing from versus if you look at a picture of Dorian Yates when he was 15, I mean, no genetics whatsoever. Look at Ronnie when he was 15. Hell, he looked like he was about 6 weeks out from his first Olympia. I mean, the dude looked amazing.
His arms were always just crazy. Yeah, so was his waist. Inches. His waist was so small. It was like, dude.
If you ever look at his knees and his elbows and his joint tie-ins, tiny. And then it just balloons into this monstrosity of a muscle.
Yeah. I don't remember where I heard it, but somebody said that like a doctor examined him or something and said his tendons were like 10 times stronger than a normal person. Like he just had tendons. That's one of the reasons he was so freakishly strong.
Yeah. A lot of people don't want to put this out there too, and this is public data, but people don't like to listen to it. Ronnie's back surgeries and hip surgeries and neck surgeries were not caused from his training. He was born with a bone density issue that his dad and his brother both had. His dad had double hip surgery. His brother had double hip surgery. Neither one of them trained half as hard as he did. The doctors actually told him that he was prolonging his bones' livelihood, not livelihood, but intensity or whatever the heck he called it, prolonging his bones' life and keeping him from having surgery earlier on in life from the workouts that he was participating in.
Yeah, I always found that interesting because I listened to all Ronnie's interviews and stuff, and he's always said that it wasn't the training, it was the surgeries that messed him up. He says that all the time, and then people just completely ignore what he says, and they're like, the training messed him up. I don't understand.
They hear what some famer said, and then they want to bleed that over the man that actually happened to.
Yeah.
Makes no sense.
What is it like being around somebody who because Ronnie just is kind of known for like not complaining and like not feeling sorry for himself. Has that impacted you a lot? Like being
big time. Yeah, big time. So I'm glad you asked that question too, because there's a lot of things that everybody in the world could complain about. Yeah. And I choose not to simply because of seeing how he now walks into the gym, can barely move, dragging his leg, having to have everything handed to him, moved out of his way, just it hurts me to see him like this, but he's still the happiest guy in the world. And for me to go, man, my doggone elbow hurts, I'd get shot in the head, for complaining, So I was involved in an accident. I've had 13 surgeries myself. I got run over by a Humvee, broke 20 plus bones. Jeez. I've had surgeries on both shoulders, left elbow, broke a bunch of ribs, broke my back in 2 places, broke my left leg. And I recovered from that, because I chose to. I was actually paralyzed for a while.
Wow.
Doctors told me I'd never walk again. Well, then, 6 months later, I'm working out, and a year later, I'm competing in a strongman event because it was what was supposed to happen. I didn't make it happen. It was, you know, the big man upstairs was like, okay, Jay, I'm going to give you a second chance. Don't fuck it up anymore. Damn. I say God and then the F word. You know what I'm trying to say, though. I'm not the best example of a Christian, but I do believe, and I wanted to put that out there as well. Anyway, with that being said, I continue to try to turn the frown upside down, grab a broom, sweep it up, don't complain about it, keep a positive attitude. A lot of people in my family are depressed. A lot of them are on drugs. A lot of them are jobless. But I choose to take the high road and be happy, excited to be working out, gainfully employed, got a phenomenal retirement plan, worked for the government and the military for 30 years, and still doing business steps, you know, with FitCon, supplement lines, clothing lines, you know, building houses, property management companies. And so with all that, why complain? There's so many people that look up to you or that watch. Even if you just have 5 followers, you are influencing them on your opinion. So if someone cuts you off and you're doing a vlog and then you start beeping and honking and cussing, the person that was having a good day watches that, and then he gets mad and goes into work, gets fired, goes home, starts beating up on his girlfriend. His kids are pissed off at him, and he just has a bad day because you're an asshole. You couldn't shut your mouth and go, oh, that guy's having a bad day. Have a nice day. And meanwhile, you want to cuss him out or honk at him or say he was sorry. You shut your mouth and you swallow your pride and you turn the frown upside down and you be happy about it. There's times that you're not happy, but you got to fake it. And then it becomes, what do you call that? Contagious.
Yeah. No,
back to Ronnie.
Back to Ronnie.
He greatest person in the world, mentally, physically, spiritually, greatest bodybuilder, is a believer. It's always mentally focused on being positive. Several times my shoulder hurts or my elbow hurts or my back is hurting while we're training because those injuries haunt you forever, I promise. No matter how many surgeries, how old you get, whatever, they haunt you. And so my hip or my knee or something might start bothering me. And I swear I'll turn and go, man, my doggone, and he'll look at me and just as beaten, as broken as he is, with a smile. What were you about to say? Nothing, brother. It's all good.
Nothing.
Yeah, nothing at all, brother. It's all good.
Yeah, I love that like press conference where somebody tried to complain about how they kept getting second place or whatever. And
he smoked him, didn't he?
Dude, that's one of the greatest things I've ever seen in bodybuilding ever.
They need to replace that Rocky song, or not replace it, but update it when it's, you know, it's not how hard you get hit, it's how many times you get back up. They need to be playing what Ronnie said at that press conference for that song.
You know, it's so interesting because like one of the reasons why Ronnie, I think Ronnie's my favorite athlete of all time.
Mm-hmm.
And like one of the reasons is just because he was so, not to say he was unsuccessful, but I mean, in a way he was unsuccessful. Like it was just incredible how he didn't place well. You know, he just came in at, you know, last place. Then he came in at 15th.
You know why? Because he loved it. He wasn't there to gain a trophy. He loved competing.
Yeah.
He
That's
loved
incredible.
working. Yeah.
And then he became the greatest bodybuilder of all time. Like it's amazing.
Yep. Because when you say athlete, there's a big controversial argument about, you know, bodybuilding is not a sport, bodybuilding, you're not an athlete, et cetera, whatever. Ronnie was a football player too. You know, he competed at a very high level in college and he kicked some ass too, you know, did some track stuff, very, very fast, you know, threw disc, shot, whatever, all the track stuff that you could imagine he was really good at. So combine that with that go-to attitude and that positivity and that championship mentality that he still has to this day. It's unstoppable.
Yeah.
Unstoppable. There's nobody in this world that has that attitude today. Nobody.
When he's the most physically developed human being like ever. I mean, if you want to talk about, the development along with the leanness combined, he's the most.
You know, there's going to be a lot of argument about Phil. You know, he was the gift. You know, and I respect Phil to the nth degree. I'm not sure that. I wouldn't train like him just because obviously I train like Ronnie and Dorian, but he does have an amazing physique. You put the 255-pound Phil Heath beside the 270-pound Jay Cutler, beside the 297-pound Ronnie Coleman, and the 260-something-pound Dorian Yates. You do the math. You put all the greatest years together. I mean, I would go for the mass monster that had the most cuts and the most symmetry. That's Ronnie Coleman.
For me personally, I was a huge bodybuilding fan. I mean, huge. Like I was one of those guys that like wanted to move to Texas to go train in Metroflex.
We
Like
get a lot of that. Yeah.
that was like my little dream. I mean, I never did it, but it was like what I wanted to do. I was like, I want to do that so bad. And watching Ronnie, I realized when Ronnie retired basically, and when Phil Heath took over.
Well, Jay won then.
Well, Jay, but I'm just talking about when it got to Phil. So when it got to Phil, I lost all interest in bodybuilding. I was not a fan anymore. And the reason was though, because I realized that I was a fan of the training. I loved to watch Ronnie Coleman train, and like watching him train was the most inspiring thing I'd ever seen. I was like, this is the most incredible thing I've ever seen in my life. And when you watch Phil Heath train, it's like you literally could fall asleep. I mean, it's like,
I didn't say that.
I said it. Yeah, I said
laughing at it, but I didn't say that.
I mean,
on record for saying that.
But I literally,
I did what you said.
I lost interest in bodybuilding. I did. I was like, I stopped watching it. I stopped following it. I didn't care because it was not inspiring to me personally to watch Phil Heath do his his hammer strength workouts. I mean, it was like, dude, I'm not into this, man. It's not, you got great genetics and a great body and everything, but Ronnie Coleman is like the man, dude.
Yeah. There's a lot of theatrics that goes into that as well. You know what I mean? You kind of want to see somebody that's making the greatest body in the world grunt a little bit, and grimace and yell and scream. And, his buddy is world renowned, I mean, if you say, buddy, in any single country, you will hear somebody go, Ronnie Coleman, lightweight, baby. Yeah. I promise you, any country in the world.
Yeah. Everybody knows Ronnie. How about Brian Dobson? Like, how did you meet Brian Dobson? How did you become friends with him? What, tell me some Brian Dobson stories and talk about him a little bit as a person.
First off, Brian is my brother. We've actually been training for the last 6 months or so together.
Really?
I've trained with Brian on and off since 91. He's always that guy, in the background that encourages you, helps you, spots you, gives you that attaboy, that poop, the push or the pep step or the pep talk that you need to get a lift. Brian, obviously, everybody's heard the stories. He offered Ronnie to work out to get ready for shows, and Ronnie took him up on it. So, he's got a lot of influence in the IFBB world because of bringing one of the greatest bodybuilders to the IFBB. Branch has been there forever. Johnny Jackson's been there forever. There's a few other people that have been trained there with Brian at Metroflex Gym, but Brian just has that mentality of a Viking. I mean, this guy, if there was ever a civilian that could just walk into the Navy SEAL or Army Ranger or whatever SF course in the military and pass it without even studying for it or training for it, it'd be Brian Dobson.
Really?
This dude's a monster. He's 60-something years old now, and he's broken down and tired and, not in as good a shape. And I know I hate saying this, and he would get pissed at me saying this out loud, but, none of us are the same as we used to be.
I'm going to send this to him, just so you know, man. I'm sending this to him.
Jay, come on, dude. So, again, 10, 15 years ago, that dude, you could just send him to the SF course and he'd pass it with no problem. What do you want me to do?
Wow.
Okay, done. He's just one of those guys. And I think the first time I actually really noticed that he was the owner and, I kind of had to respect and talk to him more so was when the first time Branch and I walked in there to train together, because I'd already been there a few times, but I was training at South Lake Training Center with Mark at Mark's gym. We walked in there. Brian was sitting behind the desk, not the desk that's there now. It was like a smaller desk, about quad level. And Branch, nodded over his head. He goes, "Yeah, got some new meat today." And he goes, "Awesome. Hope you don't die, dude." It's kind of my first words from Brian to me. And I'm thinking, come on, dude, I can hang with these guys. Oh my God, the worst training session I've ever had in my life. We squatted for probably 2 hours. Went to the bathroom and puked several times, but I made it. I didn't quit. That was my thing. I wasn't going to quit, especially because all the shit that was taught before I got there. And so after that, Brian was like, "All right, well, welcome to the family." And ever since then, it's always been, "What's up, champ? How you doing, champ?" And always, I'm still pressing heavy, and I was pressing heavy back then and squatting heavy. I think I gained a lot of respect from Brian, and most people that honor a respectful, lifter. There's obviously going to be people that are jealous, but there's always that 99% of the family that are like, God dang, man, he's killing it. Way to go, Jay, And that's the family that we have there at Metroflex. We've always had it. And that's all that Brian allows there. There's no animosity. There's no religion. There's no politics. There's no color. There's no difference at all. We're all brothers and sisters in iron over there. I promise you that.
Yeah, man. I mean, I watch your stuff and I'm always like, dude, how are you just consistently firing on all cylinders all the time? It seems like you have a lot of videos where you're just squatting 500 for 10 or whatever, or you're doing bench presses, like really heavy weights for like 20 reps. I see you doing that all the time. And,
but remember, you're only seeing 30 seconds of my 24 hours. I'm dying the other 24 hours.
But still, just to do that, though, is like crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I love to train, man. Like I said before, I just love it. As I'm not, there's some monetization with my clothes and my old supplement line, and then, helping with the gyms and, guest speaking and whatnot. But it's, again, like I said before, I just love doing this, man. This is a hobby. This is a gift. This is a blessing.
Yeah. So I think I actually got your phone number originally from Josh Bryant. Josh was coaching me. And, yeah,
Josh is another monster.
Yeah, man, dude. I used to tell him, and he would like laugh because I would do his workouts, and I would be like, dude, like, bro, I did my workout, and like my shoulders would hurt so bad
for days.
Dude, I didn't even think I could finish the workout. I'd be like, man, after I did he had me doing like a lot of dead pressing, and they would just hurt so bad deep into my shoulders. And I would tell him that. I'd be like, man, like, I don't know if something's wrong. And he just thought it was funny. Like,
yeah, good stuff. No, Josh, I met Josh, it's been 10 years ago or so. We both were guest speaking at an event. I can't remember where it was, but I remember listening to him. And Josh, love you, man. I love you to death. But when he was speaking, I was basically, nodding off because he was so smart.
Yeah, he's so smart.
There was too much scientific and empirical and encyclopedia shit that I was like, what is he even saying? And then there was a lot of other people, kind of staring at it blankly. And then, of course, there was a people with the glasses on the computers typing every word he said. And when he came down, I told him, I said, man, you're just too smart, dude. I didn't get a word you said. And so we had a great conversation because that was what kicked us off to talking. And then I figured out who he was, all the records that he broke, who he was training. He's very smart. He's very educated. He's very driven and focused to helping people be the best version of themselves in lifting. And he just wants to share that information. You don't find that very often. I have a lot of respect for Josh. Again, put you to sleep listening to him talk, but he's so damn smart and a great guy.
Yeah, it's such a rare combination for someone to be that smart and then also to have applied it so much, because, I mean, he's a beast. I mean, the dude is like scary.
Well, there's one guy now, PH Deadlift. I think his name is Ben.
Oh, yeah, Ben Pollock. Yeah.
Yeah. Super, super smart guy. He's actually got a PhD in exercise physiology or what have you. But he applies a lot of that into his lifting. It's a monster. Super nice guy, too. Same thing as Josh. Super smart, super nice, super strong.
Yeah, Ben was working with Justin Harris, a guy that I know really well. He actually coached me too before for my diet. That guy's just brilliant. He's a brilliant guy. Do you know Justin Harris? He's a nutritionist.
I don't know him personally, but I know who he is.
Yeah, crazy smart, man. I mean, just like when you're talking to him, you're just like, bro, it's like another level,
Yeah, I'm just a dumb guy that tries everything and does what works.
Yeah. So what do you think? Because it seems like your style is like pretty far away from, I mean, not intensity wise, but like volume wise from like Dorian Yates. What do you think of like Dorian Yates, Mike Mentzer, Arthur Jones, this type of lower volume, high intensity approach?
Young man's game. Definitely agree with it. Have tried it, used it for years, but it's a young man's game. Dorian, I think he's 2 or 3 years older than me. He's 57 or 58. But you would never see him doing that now. Even if he was like he was back when he was doing that, it's just too much. Not volume, but and not intensity, because you can train with intensity and not have the 5 pounds in your hand. It's just too much. I guess what is that called? Static. There's so much static tension that goes into the muscle that it would rip almost every monster set that he does. And it's great training. It is, especially if your body is resilient enough to recover from said workouts. But you've got to work your way into it slowly. Because I know, I remember when Chris Cormier went to work out with Dorian. Chris and I go a long way back. And he's like, yo, I'm going to go train with Dorian. I said, nice knowing you.
Wow.
Really nice knowing you, my friend. Enjoy. And he puked every 5 minutes. And it was just way more than the higher volume, less weight than Chris used. Chris is strong, though. Chris was a 500 incline bencher. I never really saw him squat much, but he was always heavy into deadlifts and pressing.
Now you said you like picked up Dorian from an airport or something like that. You were telling me something about how you met him and you actually trained with him even?
Yeah, in 97, he was guest posing at an event. I think it's 96 or 97. He was guest posing in Texas, and we picked him up. And that was, of course, before Ronnie became a 300-pound giant. And I had never seen anybody over 250 or 260 at the most with that kind of muscle. And he was walking down the corridor, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger and scarier. And I thought there was a gorilla walking at me. Literally, I'd never seen anybody like that in my life.
Wow.
Sweat top zipped up, sweatpants. You could see every vein in his arms through his sweats, every vein in his legs through his sweats. His calves, he looked like he had ham hocks for calves, just moving up and down. Biggest calves in bodybuilding.
Yeah.
And and I was pretty heavy too. It was 315, 320 at the time. I was like 290. And, like I told you earlier, my 290 was like a Honda, Civic compared to his 290 H2 Hummer. Different, way different. His was so much more mature and seasoned. And I just, I didn't know what to say. Jesus Christ, what the hell? Is that really a human being? And he was such a nice guy, really cool person. Very educated as well, very methodical in his movements. Got to hang out with him and eat steak and train, and we had a lot of fun.
What were those workouts like when you trained with him?
Well, it was only one time we trained back, and it was insane. Just the quick 35, 40-minute, some bent over rows, deadlifts, T-bar, or not T-bar, but dumbbell rows, pullovers, and then we were done.
And was he super strict on everything, like in his video?
Oh, yeah.
He was.
Oh, yeah. And flexible as hell. Guy sat down and spread his legs out basically to a T, touched his nose to his knee, touched his toes on both sides.
Well, what would a back workout look like with Ronnie? Like a normal back workout you would do with Ronnie Coleman?
I don't know if he even wants to say this or not, or he would want me to say it, but we have different workouts per body part, 2 or 3 different workouts that we would utilize. So I'll take you through like a typical cable workout. So we'd have cable workouts, hammer workouts, or free weight workouts, and we would skip back and forth between the 2 or 3. So start with lat pull down to the front, 4 sets of 20, seated lat row, 4 sets of 20, behind the back, pull down, 4 sets of 20, cable pull over, 4 sets of 20, and then we would do another, I hadn't trained back with him in 6 months. I can't remember some of the exercises. And then maybe a couple of dumbbell rows, and that was it. And we go into biceps. So at least 6 or 7 back. Oh, the dinosaur back machine that Branch likes. I don't know if you've seen it. It's like a put together welded black machine with handles that stick up.
Yeah.
It's got 2 handles that stick out and put 6 or 8 plates on.
Yeah.
That one of my favorite ones.
Okay, so you wouldn't necessarily always deadlift then. So some days you wouldn't deadlift.
Okay, yes, that is a correct answer, because it would be on the free weight back workout per se.
Oh, you guys did multiple back workouts a week though too, huh?
Correct. Yeah.
So would you always deadlift once a week at least though? Or
yeah,
wow.
So every 5 days we were doing the same workout or same body part. So it would be every 5th day or every 10th day.
Wow.
You see what I'm saying?
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
That's so
And to
neat.
me now, I'm deadlifting every Wednesday, squatting every Sunday, benching every Monday, with accessories kind of salt and peppered in there. I kind of got my own program going on now that Ronnie's not telling me what to do.
So it's always changing then. You guys didn't just
I mean, yes, every week was a different, or every workout was a different workout, but it was the same workout, if you know what I mean.
yeah.
So every cable pull down, seated row, back pull down was that workout. So that's what we would do for that workout. But if it was the next back workout, it would be the hammer pull down row, hammer seated row, T-bar row. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So those workouts would never change. It will be like another day later, we would do a different back workout, but still that same program, if
Then
that
it would-
makes sense.
Yeah. Then maybe the deadlift, bent over row, T-bar row, or whatever.
Right. Exactly.
And so was the mastermind of all this was Brian Dobson? Is he the guy that kind of influenced everybody on their training philosophies and kind of got everybody?
Yeah, kind of actually. I mean, so after we all got in there and kind of figured out what worked best for us, we kind of adopted our own take from Brian's training, as well as what we brought to the table. We've actually got a book out, the Metroflex training book. It's got all of our workouts in there. But you'll see Branch and Johnny, they do the same workout day in and day out, for the last 30 years. Ronnie and I, same workout day in and day out. Brian, he was training with a couple other guys, same workout. When Brian and I train now, like I said, though, it's a lot of instinctive because of our injuries and what we're trying to get through. If we're getting ready for anything, which we're not, but the instinctive training works best for us in the older days, for sure.
So that's all in that book?
Oh, yeah.
How do you get that book? Where is it, on Amazon?
No, it's on Metroflex.com.
Oh, it's on Metroflex. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And I think Ronnie's signature is on it, or you can get it signed by Ronnie.
Oh, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Have you written a book yet?
No, I don't
When are
know.
you gonna write your book, man?
Probably be too boring.
You were filming a documentary, right? Like because I remember when we were talking originally, you were filming a documentary or some kind of film movie.
Oh, so I was going back and forth to California working with the John Wick crew. We were shooting and having fun and wrestling and, doing all that kind of stuff. I was kind of hoping to be in the movie, but I didn't make the cut. But I do know all the guys and I've worked with them.
And that was in California, you said?
Yeah, out there with Terran Tactical.
So you're not currently in the military then, right? You're retired from
God. I got out 1993, and then I became a private contractor shortly thereafter. I went to the police academy, did that for a very short time, didn't work out for me. And so I got contacted by a couple of companies that I went and contracted for as a military operator. Did that on and off for about 20 more years, as well as had my gym, competed a little bit, did property management services, eventually started a supplement line, have a clothing line now. And then I basically retired from the government and working as a contractor 2 years ago. So really, I'm kind of jobless. And if you haven't seen my coffee cup yet,
Grandpa. So just 2
That's the
years
best
ago?
job.
It's only been 2 years though?
Since I've retired, yeah.
Wow, man. So that's pretty gnarly then. You were like lifting all these weights and doing this stuff and then contracting.
Mm-hmm.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Also, FitCon.
Oh yeah,
I've been doing
FitCon.
that for a long, long time.
Yeah.
FitCon started out as a backyard bench press, beer drinking barbecue event at my gym, Big J Extreme Fitness. And so we were just every year, kind of springtime, getting outside and having fun and having some music and drinking a couple beers and bench pressing. Well, it wasn't too long that we started bringing in special guests, like Roland Brown was our first special guest. He was a world-class bench presser, and he kind of gave a seminar. And we all kind of learned a little bit, and then we drank some beer and ate some barbecue. A couple years later, there were some powerlifters that came in, and so we hosted a powerlifting event at my gym and still drank beer and had barbecue. Well, then a year or two later, some strong competitors, strong men and strong women competitors came, and we decided to have like a whole shut the city down, bring some fire trucks and some vendors, some music. Saltgrass came out and brought us our food. I mean, it was real legit. Holy crap, we're having an event kind of thing. You know, we had
Awesome.
fire truck pulls, sled pulls, stones, relays. We even benched and deadlifted, no squats. Just there was like 12 or 13 different events, and it took us a full day because there was only like 10 or 12 competitors, but there was a bunch of people watching, kind of over 300 people, and it was still free. Just a bunch of people out there having fun, drinking beer. You know, we had a DJ playing some good music. The city was just stopping to come out and hang out. It was a lot of fun. Well, then, 08-ish, 09-ish, I had started working for some supplement lines again. They started hiring me to do reviews on my YouTube channel. And I kind of decided to bring some YouTube people to the event and maybe make it a little bit bigger. Hence FitCon, Fitness Convention. Man,
Wow.
we had 400, 500, 600 people come out to the gym, and the gym was kind of standing room only with less than 50 people. So there was people everywhere. And we had panels, Q&As. We had a bench press event, deadlift event, still free.
Did you still have barbecue?
Food, sir?
Did you still have barbecue?
No, it's gotten out of control now. There's thousands of people that come out, and I just kind of watch and shake hands now.
Wow.
So it eventually became a bigger event to where I had to move it to a venue. We filled that place up, and then I started charging for it. Had vendors that would pay for booth fees, get speakers. Then we moved it to a bigger gym in Dallas. It was there for 3 years. People were coming out like C.T. Fletcher, Mike Rashid, Rich Piana, Robin Dana Bailey.
Wow.
There was a lot of people. I mean, literally, Michael Hearn, I can't think of everybody off the top of my head. Realistic, a Rural World Tactical, Tony Saint-Manot, Chris Gethin. Yeah, they were all coming out to FitCon for years, last 5 or 6 years. And then, you know, we just had FitCon Texas last week in Fort Worth. Man, hundreds of booths, thousands of people. It was phenomenal.
That's awesome, man. So you're in Dallas? Your gym is in Dallas then?
Well, I closed my gym when I retired. All my gym stuff is here in my underneath the awning and in my storage building. So
that's why I see you working out in the rain and stuff now.
Yeah. So when I retired, I shut my gym down and you know, brought it all to my house so I wouldn't have to be punching the clock anymore for anybody. You know, I still work. I still have a lot of stuff going on, but I get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, I do some work, and then I go to the gym about 9 or 10, and then I come home about 3 or 4, do some more work, and start all over again.
So you're training with Brian now, you said, for the last 6 months?
Whenever he's available. I say 6 months, it's probably been more like a year. But whenever he's available, because he has a lot of clients. I still have clients that I'll train at different gyms or come here or go to Metroflex and train them. But usually every Monday and Tuesday we train together. We train chest on Mondays and accessory legs on Tuesdays, and then we kind of start getting too busy for each other, and then we meet back again on Mondays.
And do you I know I've seen videos of you working out with Ronnie. So do you work out with Ronnie still pretty regularly, or
we haven't trained in about 6 months because he just had some stem cell stuff done, and he's supposed to take it easy, you know. And then whenever we train together, you know me, I'm not going to let him slack, and he doesn't like to slack when he's training with me. And it's better for him to relax right now. So we hadn't trained in a few months together.
When's he going to be ready to go again? Do you know?
They said it might take a year. It might take 2 years for the stem cells to start working properly because he is so jacked up. And I'm hoping for the better. You know, we're all just always praying for him and hoping for the best.
Yeah, man. Dang, that sucks because I'm gonna be in San Antonio in July. And I was gonna say, man, if I could work out with you and Ronnie, I'll drive 8 hours to wherever you guys are at. But
yeah, San Antonio's a haul, huh? What are you doing in San Antonio?
My wife's family has some family there, so we're gonna go visit. And compared to here, like you could get a really cool place. Like we're like renting this big old giant house, really cheap in Texas, man. You get like a
Everything's
cool,
cheap in Texas. Everything's bigger and cheaper in Texas.
yeah, we're gonna get like a 5-bedroom house on 10 acres for like $150 a day or something crazy like
Yeah,
that.
that's crazy, right? Yeah.
This is great. Yeah,
Well, because there's so much real estate out here that's unoccupied. You know what I mean?
that's
It's
why.
not like they're giving it away, but it's hard to charge anything like they do on the West Coast or even the Northeastern coast for any property. You know, I'm on 5 acres here, and this house is 3,800 square feet. You probably pay $5 million for a place like this in California, you know, for a tiny, I know I've got a bunch of buddies that live out there, and I believe one of my friends, I don't want to say the exact amount, but I think it was $3 million in his house. It's like the size of a storage building, the smaller one.
Oh yeah, my whole family lives in California.
Christ, how in the world can you afford that?
Yeah, man. The regular house is $1 million. I mean, that's like a cheap house in California.
Mhm. Yeah.
My sister, she works in the Bay Area, and it's like this is normal. Like to buy a home like 2 hours away and drive to work, like two hours to go to work and 2 hours home every day. Like that's what people just do there, you know, in the Bay Area.
To me, that just sounds like a waste of time.
I wouldn't. Yeah, me too, man. I moved to Oregon, so I live in Southern Oregon. It's a lot slower pace. If
Beautiful
it was
there, isn't it? Yeah.
I love it, man. But if it was
Yeah.
easy, I'd move to Texas, bro. I would.
Yeah.
I would move to Texas.
Yeah.
If I could.
Yeah. We have it, you know, there's a lot of different stuff going on in the world today, but it's a great place to live. And I said I didn't want to really touch on any of that, but I'm glad that I'm living in Texas. Let's just leave it at that.
Well, I messaged Josh because I had a friend that was thinking about moving there, and I messaged Josh Bryan. I said, "Hey, man, what do you think about moving to Texas?" You know, and he's like, "No income tax," and I was like, "What? Like, what are you talking
Be right
about?"
there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I can't even imagine that. That's incredible. So the last question I want to ask you though is just so with your crazy life and everything, like what kind of role has God played in your life? You know, and what's your relationship with God like?
Probably not as good as it should be. I've already said that to you on the phone before. I'm not the best example of a Christian that you would even hang out with. But I do have a heart for God. I do believe in God. I was raised in the church, and I do have a lot of faith. So with that being said, I don't go out there and do bad things and know that I'm going to be forgiven, because I know that I'm going to heaven because I did something bad and I asked for forgiveness. I've got more of a guilty conscience per se, or a voice on my shoulder reminding me that that's not the right thing to do, and to keep my mouth shut and just to be a happy guy. You know, I just I don't know, probably the worst example of a Christian you could ever meet. But I do believe I cuss like a sailor. I drink like a sailor. I get mad at people. I say the wrong thing all the time. I'm kind of a bully, but gosh, I believe in God, you know, and I hope that some of the things that I say and do and the way I act, you know, hopefully lead the way to other people to realize that you don't have to be perfect, but you got to try. You know what I mean? And when I look at myself in the mirror at night, when I can stand to look at myself and brush my teeth, I do feel like I've done a good job for the day. You know, I don't want to talk about giving somebody $1 on the side of the street, or helping the old lady walk across the street, or say I was a good dude at the gym and swept up. That's none of that at all. It's just what's in my heart. You know what I mean? Because, you know, my kids are in their 30s, and I have so much love for them, more than, if you're a father, you know what I'm talking about, more than I've loved anything in this world. And then once my grandson was born, it changed. The whole love was not necessarily a lie, but more of a, there's so much more that I can show you of love. You just have had your ears and eyes closed all your life. Wow. And now you finally have something that you can love more than you've ever loved in your entire life. And it kind of parlays over into my daily walk with people. Instead of going, hey, those shoes look stupid, you know, going, oh, wow, those are new shoes. Or get out of my way, asshole. This guy's probably in more of a hurry than I am. I'm going to let him go. You know what I mean? So less matters now. The older I get, the more mature I get, the more love I'm being shown by, that I believe is God is showing me as, being a grandpa. It's nothing, I can't explain it, man. There's nothing that can explain that love that I've got now for the human race, for people that try, for businesses, for friends, acquaintances, for my family, than what I've been shown the last 4 years that my grandson's been alive.
Wow, man, that's cool, man. And it's crazy because I actually, for whatever reason, I just, I texted Brian Dobson like just the other day, and I was like, I don't know why.
Believer. Brian's a big time believer.
And what I texted him was, I was like, I don't know why I felt like texting him this, and I said, I used to go to this Orthodox Christian church, and the Orthodox.
I haven't been to church in years. That's another bad example.
Well, you are the church, bro. You are the church. So that's what Jesus said, right? He told Peter, right. He said, Peter, you are the church. On this rock I shall establish my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. So the church is a man. But the Orthodox Christians, they have the history. It's incredible. If you ever go to Orthodox Christian church, they have a history that goes all the way back to Jesus, of people's testimonies and Christians that wrote their stories and everything. Mm-hmm. And they had all these stories about people that they talked about the Apostle John and his sermons, like, because he would preach sermons just like they do today in church, right? And so they would,
but right in the middle of the water or on a rock or on the side of the road, whatever.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And so it's incredible what you said, though, because I texted this to Brian, because they said that they would go to church or they would go to listen to John, and he would get out there and everyone's intensely listening, right? Like, what is John going to tell us? And all he would say is love one another.
Sure.
And that's
the bottom line, my friend.
He wouldn't say anything else. He would just say, love one another.
Yeah, man, that would solve so many problems in this world if we could learn to love each other.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna interject this. Back when it was being forced down my throat as a child, and then back when I finally started making my own decisions and going or not going to church, and then believing or not believing in what I believed in, and having kids and doing the fake bow your head, oh, Heavenly Father, thank you so much for our blessings, etc. And I'm saying this sort of sacrilegiously, but realistically, again, none of that really made a difference in my life, except for surviving, being deployed and some other things that happened in my life that woke me up, that made me thankful, that made me hope that there was something afterwards, and believing and not really believing. Yeah. But now I do believe with the faith 100%. And if you ask my kids and my family, when we pray, when we have dinner or a holiday together, which is, very seldomly, like once a month or whatever, we don't bow heads. I look at them. I say, look, okay, I'm going to pray. And I'll look at them and I'll say what I'm saying to them with intense love and compassion, and tell them I'm glad that they're here and I'm thankful that they're, in my life. And I appreciate you guys for cooking this food. And I pray for another amazing day with you guys. Amen. Instead of bow your head, take your hats off, and everybody get reverent. I'm not that guy. I never was. It was all fake. And now, to me, when I look you in the eye and I pray with you, because I pray with Brian every now and then too, for injuries and workouts and good stuff like that. These people will bow their heads, and I'll look them right in the eye. Hey, look at me. I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you with God, with intensity. Listen to me, damn it. I'm talking.
With intensity,
then, yeah. They look at me and they go, okay, amen, thank you. And it's a gift. I think it's a gift to be able to understand, people speak in tongues and they do these things that I don't understand. I do understand that when I look you in the eye and I talk about God, I mean it, by golly. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's when I pray with my family, and they ask me to pray at bigger events or whatever. And I just say, no, pass. Let somebody else do it, because y'all won't like how I do it. And then, they finally got to realize how I do it. And I go, yeah, go ahead, Big Chin, go ahead. Lead the prayer. All right, listen up, everybody. I'm glad y'all are here. We're here together, and I'm thankful that we made it. And this food, I hope it's good, and I hope we have a good day. Amen.
Yeah, just real. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, man.
Just a word of encouragement too, like, because the way you're talking, if you look at the apostles, man, 4 of them were fishermen, and you know that they were rough dudes. And Paul was actually a man of the law, you know, like you're a military guy. Paul was a man of the law, and he actually was killing Christians when he found Christ, right? Like, because Christ met him on the road and said, "Why are you persecuting me?" And he became a believer. And oftentimes Paul would say to people, like, "I'm the worst, man. I'm the worst guy." But like you, he said the same thing. He's like, "But I believe." He's like, "I'm the worst guy, man." He used to kill Christians. I mean, that's what he did for a living. I mean, people were terrified of the guy, but he believed, you know, and I think that's all that matters, you know. And what you're saying about love too, that right there, that's how I live my faith right there through my family.
Oh man,
I love my wife and my daughter.
And so I don't want to get into a long topic, and I know we need to wrap up because it's probably going on 2 hours now. I would press people, if they're listening, if they're still listening, thank you so much for sticking around. I would charge people to pull their heads out of their ass about this self-love and this self-care. And, you know, the world owes me this. Pull your head out of your butt, put your big boy boots and big girl boots on, and live. Pay your bills, take care of your family, put food on the table, take care of your retirement, and live. Don't worry about taking care of yourself, because when you take care of your family, you are taking care of yourself. There's something that goes hand in hand with taking care of the one that you love. And then you'll start loving yourself for doing that.
Wow.
Because if you're selfish and you don't love taking care of your family, there's something wrong with you. You need to move on, bro. Find you another family that doesn't love you back. But your family loves each other. And once you start loving yourself, then guess what? You could be a servant to society. And the person that spits in your face or calls you an MF or cuts you off, no big deal. He's having a bad day. Let him go. Don't let it ruffle your feathers, because it can turn your entire insides inside out. So make sure when you are starting to have a bad day that you remember the word love and time. Give it time. Back up. Take a breath. And then don't let it bother you, man. My grandpa always used to preach to me, don't sweat the petty stuff, man. It's not worth it. Once you get my age, he was in his 70s, and I was like 12. Once you get my age, boy, you understand it. Thank God I made it in my 50s, because he was dying when he was finally figuring out life, you know?
Yeah,
I hope I have another 20, 30 years left.
Yeah, God willing, man. And thank you, man. That's some great wisdom. Awesome podcast. Super easy to talk to you. And never say you don't go to church, man, because every time you talk about God, every time you pray with Brian, you're the church right there, man. That is the church right there. So
yes, sir. Yeah.
So,
and if you're surprised, hey, if you're watching this and you're surprised at anything I said, I speak from the heart. I've been around for 56 years. I got kids in their 30s. I got a grandson. I've had multi-million-dollar companies, and I still understand where it comes from, and I still understand hopefully where it goes at the end. And I love you guys, and I really appreciate y'all's support for watching. Support my man. His information obviously will be in the description box. I'm going to put some stuff on my page as well. But if you have any other questions like we talked about, hit me up. I'd be glad to respond back to you. And again, faith, intensity, and love. That's all it is, man.
That's it, bro. All right, brother. Well, thank you very much, man. And just send me those pictures of your boy Mark, and then I'll get this thing edited, get it published, and I'll send it to you.
Sounds good, my friend. All right, so what do we do now? Do we just hang up?
That's it. Yep. You just
okay.
I'm just gonna hit stop record, and yeah, and then I just gotta edit this, and and I'll send it to you. All right, brother. Thank you, man. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Have a good night. Go eat something.
You too. All right. Bye.
Nothing gonna stop me. Nothing. Like Ronnie Cole, flex, hater. That's why I'm flexing on all year long, like I'm Ronnie Coleman. I believe you got me wrong if you think you can hold me. Yeah, you only count me out, but you can't control it. I won't let you control it. That's why I'm flexing on all year long, like I'm Ronnie Coleman. I believe you got me wrong if you think you can hold me. Yeah, you only count me out, but you can't control it. I won't let you control it. Yeah, no gain and never fold, I was told. That's why it's ride or die, rain or hail, sleet or snow, full throttle on go. Now if you wanna know your destiny, then your destiny is up to you to be whole. It's all on you and what you do, and if you really want it deep down in your soul. See, it's all about sacrifice, commitment. Push it past the pain as you remain persistent. I'm willing to prove I want it better than you. Feel like I'll die if I don't try to show the world my view. I laugh with God while the haters laugh at me. Humbly accepting my victory while casually making them bow down to your majesty. And now they mad at me, I know they mad at me. That's why I'm blessing on all year long like I'm Ronnie Coleman. I believe you got me wrong if you think you can hold me. If you wanna count me out, but you can't control it. I won't let you control it. That's why I'm flexing on them all year long like I'm Ronnie Coleman. I believe you got me wrong if you think you can hold me. Yeah, you wanna count me out, but you can't control it. I won't let you control it. Man, I got it from the mud, from the rough, from the dirt, from the belly of the earth. Every trial and tribulation, no matter the situation, I'ma get what I deserve. Man, I'm self-made, made it, wouldn't give it, had to take it, play to win, but never playing, standing firm, though I was shaking, you can't match my motivation. I don't know what you've been told, I give it my all, my body and my soul. They mock me when I fail, didn't think that I would get up. See me broken, ain't think I picked my pieces up, I ain't a quit. I'm a go-getter, real deal certified, bona fide winner. That's why I laugh with God while the haters laughed at me. While humbly accepting my victory while gratitude, making them bow down to your majesty. And now they mad at me, I know they mad at me. That's why I'm flexing on all year long like I'm Ronnie Coleman. I believe you got me wrong if you think you can hold me. If you wanna count me out, but you can't control it. I won't let you control it. That's why I'm flexing on them all year long like I'm Ronnie Coleman. I believe you got me wrong if you think you can hold me. Yeah, you wanna count me out, but you can't control it. I won't let you control it. Yeah, yeah. I'm the type that like to do what can't be done. Walk with wolves, lion hunt with the lions. Bear hug a bear, I don't care. In the valley of death, only God I fear. Count me out, I count me in. Just when you thought I would end, you realize I begin. And that's why I'm flexing.